Hello and welcome to Beyond the Finish Line, the podcast for runners of every pace, every distance and every goal. You are chatting with Matt and Georgia, and today we are welcoming you to our Marathon Mini Series, your guide from half to full marathon, helping you to avoid the common mistakes that you make along the way. We're breaking down all of the marathon myths, training for your first marathon, and advanced tips to help you improve for your next race, whether that is your first or your fifth. But today we're going to chat 10 marathon myths that are ruining your race and what you should do instead. Matt, how are you going?
Georgia, it's weird to hear a real intro after we've had our little break from them.
I know.
I'm excited to do the mini series. I was saying to you before, it's cool that we do like a different topic every week, but I'm actually excited to do like a 4 or 5 week like training block on a topic, so we can just go a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. And I hope everyone listening like appreciates it the way I think they will.
I think so too. And I think, you know what, we're at the start of the year, lots of people are starting to train for some marathons, and we're getting lots of listener questions about marathons. So I think we think it's going to be about 4 episodes, guys. Marathon Mini Series is going to be right up your alley. And, you know, we're so lucky to have Coach Matt. So why don't we, use that brain of his, and we will just get as much info out of him as we can. And then anything we can't get out of him, well, you're just going to have to sign up for coaching. So I want to start the episode off, Matt, with how has your week been? Give me your highs and lows.
I'm just in the hurt locker at the moment. It is, this prep has just been an absolute shit show. I'm not in a good place in terms of my training and in terms of my fitness and in terms of how I'm perceiving everything at the moment. And that just is what it is. Like, I had one good week, which I was pretty stoked with and thought I'd turn the corner. And I ran 100 kilometers this week, and every single kilometer of it was as hard as the last. So it just is what it is. Unfortunately, I'm too late into the prep now to really change anything, and I just got to kind of go through it.
So last week you spoke about kind of making a decision on whether or not you were going to give yourself 2 weeks and then decide whether you were still going to do UTA 100. Where are you at with that? How is that going?
I am going to do the race regardless. Now, that's kind of the decision I've made, because I don't feel like the reasons I have to quit are not good enough.
Okay.
Just because training sucks at the moment, and because I'm not hitting my paces, and because everything isn't going to plan, does not give me an emotional out.
Yes, that is true. I agree with you, actually. And a lot of the time I feel like you talk about your own personal training, and I'm a bit like, I don't know if I agree with you, but I do agree with you on that one. I do think that, it might be a little bit too emotional at the moment. It's not really like you to be like that. So yeah, I think giving it a crack will be still good. It's not like you're injured and trying to justify still running. I think it's not what you wanted out of this training block.
Yeah, I mean, I have had I did an Instagram reel about this the other day that went quite well. I have just had little niggly injury after niggly injury, and I just haven't been able to get any momentum. And that's for me, like a big thing in training blocks is like stringing 3 or 4 weeks together of really, really good training, and then you normally have a bad week, and then you might get 2 or 3 and then a bad week. Like, that's just kind of the ebbs and flows of training, where I essentially at the moment are like 16 weeks of shit weeks and 1 good week. It's just frustrating, but like I still run 100 kilometers this week. So like there is no reason for me to pull out just because I'm not running to the best of my capabilities. Like, that is not a good enough reason to quit. So unless something happens that is significant or gives me cause to think maybe one of these injuries could be something longer term, I don't think it's necessarily a good enough reason to quit. And I said last week, and I know you didn't really agree with this, I don't think you have to enjoy every minute of every prep. I think sometimes you got to go through shit stuff to get good stuff. So that's just where we're at.
Yeah, and after that, I kind of reflected on it, and I do agree. I think there are definitely a lot of preps that can be really, really tough. I guess I'm just at the point where I'm like, you don't also have to go through shit prep all the time. Like,
Yeah.
you can, pull back and find things that you enjoy. So, but I am very glad that you're riding the roller coaster at the moment. And I don't know, I feel like on race day, you're just going to kind of pull out something that's just going to surprise you and you're going to do really well.
I mean, that'd be lovely.
I believe in you.
It's actually something that I say to my athletes quite a lot is like the 80-20 rule. So like,
yeah.
And you use rule of thirds. That's what resonates with you. But I think people make the mistake of, they confine it to shorter time periods. They only think it's relevant for a training block. So they'll be like, well, George's rule is a third feels great, a third feels okay, a third feels shit. And they might only apply that for like a 16-week block. But then you need to continually expand the time horizon over how long you've been an athlete. It might be a third of if you're a 10 marathon, you've run 10 marathons, so maybe a third of your preps feel awesome, a third of your preps feel okay, a third of your preps feel shit. Like, you just got to continually expand it out, and like, it all fits into those numbers. I like 80-20, so this is probably just one of the 20% that's going to feel shit. And then, yeah. And if you're a lifelong endurance athlete, you might have a whole year that's shit, and you'd be like, well, this is just a third of my career that's going to be shit, and then the next 2 years are going to be good. Like, so just, I think it's something to keep in perspective, is like, you got to constantly evaluate time horizons based on how you've performed.
Yeah, it applies to so many things in your life, and I love that. It's really true. But you had a great weekend down in Sydney, though. Weekend?
The Thursday, Friday, yeah.
Thursday, Friday, yeah. It was really nice for us all to catch up and go for a run, and you did a bike ride with some of the team as well. So was that a bit of a high for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. I said this to Sam. I was like, Centennial Park on a Thursday morning is about as close as you can get me to moving to the city. It's like, if I could live that every single day, I'd be like, that'd be unreal. But the other 99% of the time in the city, I'm like, just run me over.
Okay, so now you can, that Thursday morning, so guys, for context, Thursday morning was absolutely buzzing in the park. There was just hundreds of cyclists, runners, it was all happening. And I like, that is how I feel about Centennial, and it is really hard. What Matt's just said is like, it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. And you could get up at 6 a.m. and go into the park pretty much any day of the week, and there's always going to be people buzzing about. But it is the best feeling when you're out there and people are just like doing their thing, and you're kind of just like, I love that for you. Like, you've gotten up early, like, we're enjoying the sunshine, like, we're in our beautiful city. There's just all these like-minded people around. It's just such a cool place to be. So I'm glad you got to experience that, because, yeah, where we were was really nice and busy.
Yeah, it was just an unreal morning. So that was an absolute high. Obviously doing all the community stuff as well for TPP, having all the athletes come out for a tempo session. Then we did a brick session the next day. Like, it was a great weekend. But yeah, like I said, that's about as close as you can get me to like moving to the city. It's like, if you could guarantee me that every single day, I'd be like, I can see the appeal. But yeah.
Look, I could pretty much guarantee that any day you went into the park, but the rest
like
of the day.
Friday.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't as good on Friday.
Oh, wasn't as good on Friday. Well, I was going to say most of the time I'm there, it's like that. But yeah, I can't guarantee the rest of the city is going to feel like that. It's going to feel pretty chaotic. The rest of the city's
how you doing? Yeah. What about you, G? We spent 8 minutes talking about me.
Oh,
what
that's
okay.
Highs
and lows?
Highs and lows. Highs, I had a fabulous weekend. We stayed in the city for a friend's wedding, which was really cool.
Saw that. Nick had the tux on and everything. He was looking sharp.
Looking so sharp. Very 007 of him. He already had like pretty much half the tux anyway from our wedding, and so he just went and got a tux done, well, the jacket done in like 3 weeks from our friends at Walcott Street, and they pumped that tux out for him so quickly, and I was so grateful because he looked so good. But I actually have a podcast high this week, and I shared it on our stories over the weekend. But I just want to share on last week's episode, we did a listener question from Jeff. And he just sent me a message last night or the night before, and it really resonated with me, and it just made me feel so grateful for this beautiful podcast. And he just said, "Hey guys, just letting you know how much I listen to your answers to my questions. My original question about training in zone 1 or zone 2 by increasing my pace was replied by Matt about keeping it more in zone 1 and therefore a slower pace. Anyway, followed that advice, didn't stress over a low heart rate at my easy pace. It helped for Hobart Marathon, a 3-hour 32 time and a new age record for the course. I qualified for Boston with 18 minutes to spare. Keep up the good work." And that is just epic. It is so cool. And I just love hearing feedback from our wonderful listeners of the podcast. But I can't remember the age group that Jeff is in, but he's an experienced marathon runner. And to see someone get, an epic time, a PB, and get a Boston qualifier as well was really cool. So, yeah.
I don't want to say I'm solely responsible for that, but no. I think Jeff asked two or three questions, and when you ask the right questions, and get good answers, and you apply it, you can you can take that information a long way, which I think is really cool. That's one of those cool. I don't coach Jeff. He just asks questions on the pod. But it's a cool coaching moment when you give someone information, they apply it, and then you get a result. So awesome work, Jeff.
Yeah,
That's
it's really cool to get feedback like that. And even I joined a Pilates studio recently, and the owner's husband messaged me because I'd been posting some stuff on socials just to say a new Pilates studio, and I was really enjoying it, and not trying to be oh, I've got a social presence, so I'm going to help someone out. I was just genuinely really happy to be there. And he was like, "Hey, Georgia, I own the Pilates studio with my wife." And he was just like, "I actually started listening to your podcast when you were doing your sub 4. And I was like, "No way, that's so cool." And I just love when we get full circle moments like that on the podcast, because I just think we're just so lucky that we have such a engaged and wholesome community on the podcast. And yeah, that really made my day when I hear, your feedback. And lows, at the moment, I was talking to Matt about this off mic, and I just feel like I'm in the washing machine as well with just life in general, and just struggling a little bit to keep my head above water, but that's okay. This is all, that just in the season that I'm in. I joked on the weekend that I haven't been an emotional pregnant woman. And then on Sunday, I spent half the day crying on the couch because I was just so emotional. But I think that was just because I was tired. Anyway, that is fine. But look, the hormones is going to be an interesting roller coaster that I'm going to be on very soon. I'm sure of it. But no fun facts, I'm sorry, about pregnancy this week. Matt, anything you need to ask?
No. No, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about where I'm at with my knowledge of pregnancy.
I know. I get people message me being like, "I love when Matt asks a question because we're all thinking it." I'm like, okay.
I'm just a curious guy. I like asking questions.
No, it's good. It's good. Well, we should probably get into our 10 marathon myths.
Let's do it.
We've spent the last 15 minutes yapping, which we love. And I'm sure you guys love it too. But if
you don't, there's timestamps at the bottom.
No, if you don't listen to it, stop. Just get over it. So as we were saying in the intro, we're going to do a marathon mini series, guys. This is episode 1 of the mini series, where we're going to go through 10 marathon myths that we think are ruining your marathons and what you should do instead. So I'm going to kick things off with the first one. Should your long run never go past 32 kilometers?
Well, avid listeners of Beyond the Finish Line, I nearly called this the TPP podcast then. I don't know why.
It's all I have left.
Avid listeners will know we have multiple workouts that go above 32 kilometers. Most of anyone other than a beginner would probably spend 4 to 6 weeks consistently running between 30 and 36 kilometers leading into a marathon. even our beginners would run a 34 to 35 as their peak week of training. So I think this is just a really outdated marathon theory. I don't really know how it started. And even if you just think about it from a math perspective, 32 kilometers, it's like 75% of a marathon, give or take. So a 10 kilometers run, that's a long way. Like 10 kilometers is just unknown. It's just so far. There are so many levels where it doesn't make sense. So I don't know how this necessarily got traction. I don't know. I don't know how it became part of the zeitgeist. So I'd say no, it's definitely an outdated myth. Even a lot of professional marathon runners, they're running 40-kilometer training runs and things like that. I'm consistently running between 30 and 40 kilometers. Granted, I'm training for an ultra, but that's probably not going to change when I come back to Gold Coast Marathon prep or Ironman prep. So, yeah, I would say definitely outdated.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from either. And I can't imagine. I know my first marathon, I think the most I did was 32. But now I just can't imagine only doing 32 kilometers in prep. I just feel like that's where a lot of people hit the wall, and then it's just so much unknown, like 10K of just absolute hurt and not fun. So I agree. Don't know where it came from. And I much prefer doing that little bit of extra distance to really get that in your legs.
Yeah. And I just want to add on to this, the people who maybe run based on time instead of distance. If we translate this to time, and let's just say like you're a 6-minute per kilometer marathon runner, like that's an hour like that you haven't spent on your feet. So if your long runs 3.5, 4 hours, and you're a 6-minute runner, like that's a whole nother hour that you haven't even done in training, which just, I think the bridge is just too far to gap. So if you're a time runner, I would be getting somewhere within 40 minutes of like your predicted finish time. I wouldn't want too much longer than 40 minutes.
Yeah. And I do hear people talk about, they're like, oh, but what about the 6-hour, marathon runners? Like you can't expect them to go out and run 5 hours in prep. And I'm like, but they're still got to run the 6 hours on the day.
They need it more than the advanced runners for sure. Like,
it doesn't make sense.
You need to be running 5.5 hours. Absolutely. Like we do the same thing with our Ironman bike riders. Like if you're going to be out on the bike for 7 or 8 hours, sure as shit, you're going to be riding 7 or 8 hours during prep. Like you can't just send someone out there being like 5 hours is fine. Like just doesn't work like that. It'd be like sending Georgia out for her sub 4 and be like 2.5 hours, good as gold. Like, it's just not the same.
Nah. And, you want all the confidence you can heading into your race. And if you can, really smash out a 34, 36, 38, whatever it might be, run and feel really confident, I feel like on race day, you're not going to have that fear of the unknown, like what's going to happen in that last 10. You're just going to feel way more confident.
And that's actually a good point. It's one of the key metrics we look for at TPP is we'll give our athletes somewhere between 4 and 6 30-plus kilometer runs. We want 2 good ones out of those 4 to 6. Chances are the first 2, they're going to be like, oh my God, what the fuck's going on? Then they'll get 1 in the middle 2, 1 in the back 2, and like they're normally really good metrics to know that someone's going to have a good marathon.
All right, number 2, do you need to run every single day in marathon prep?
Absolutely not. We only do running every single day 1 week out of the entire prep, and that's peak week. And even on the what would be off days, they are 15 to 30 minute stride sessions. So super light, more about recovery. So then when you start your quality session on the next day, it is your body's ready to go. It's cleared a bit of that bio waste. It's cleared a bit of any lactate that's left over, and your nervous system's firing, ready to go. So absolutely not. I can't think of too many. I'm training for an ultra and I'm not even running every single day. So I can't think of too many reasons that you absolutely have to run every single day.
What does a typical marathon training block week look like, for, say, our athletes, or you can use me as the example? What would that look like for someone?
Yeah, generally speaking, 4 runs per week is plenty. And And if they are a particularly conditioned athlete, we might do 5, or we might add some cross training, whether that's cycling, swimming, elliptical, stairs, something like that. Monday, always recovery run, so never miss a Monday, but you could sub that out for cycling. You could sub that out for a cross training session if you're particularly sore. Really, all that session is about is just getting the blood moving, flushing out anything that's left in your legs from the weekend, feeling good. Wednesday, generally either a tempo or a threshold session. Normally tempo, as we sort of get deeper and deeper into the marathon block. That can get anywhere up to 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the session. Friday would be a more intense session, but shorter, so up to an hour, threshold, VO2. Maybe when we're getting to the pointy end of a training block, it might get out to 80 or 90 minutes with a longer warm-up and cool-down. And then Sunday, always alternating weeks of aerobic and then race-specific. So, for example, week 13 might be 30 kilometers aerobic, and then it might be like 30 kilometers with 2x5K built in, or 2x8K built in, or 3x10K built in, whatever it might be. And we would alternate those between an easy week and a hard week.
Yeah, more specific stuff every second week.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the sessions for me that always make me feel more confident, when you could really...
Yeah, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you smashed them, sometimes if you couldn't do it,
sometimes
it was
they break your soul for sure.
3, should you smash a huge pasta the night before a big race?
Yeah, the cowboy carb load, eh?
The carb load. Love
You've never heard that?
No, I haven't heard that. That's a good one. I'm going to use that again.
So again, this is one of those ones that I don't really know how it got into I guess on paper, it makes sense, right? Like, you just eat a shitload of carbs up for a race. I was actually talking to one of our athletes, Zoe, when I was in Sydney the other day, and she was like, I find it so strange that when people do carb loads, they just use it as an excuse to eat shit for 3 days. Yeah. So like, they buy cookies and chips and I just need the carbs. And you're like, well, you haven't eaten that all prep. So no, you shouldn't eat a huge dinner the night before. Our general rule of thumb is adding 25 to 50%, 25 sort of if you're a smaller female, 50% if you're up to a bigger male, additional carbohydrates per meal. So if you have a cup of oats in the morning, 1.5 cups. Like if you have a cup of rice, 1.5 cups of rice. Like super easy. If you want to have some liquid carbs as well, we're sort of doing that for 48 to 72 hours beforehand.
Yeah, and it's so true what Zoe was saying about people using it as an excuse to eat shit.
Yeah. Blocks of chocolate, all this shit that they never eat. And they're like, why do I feel sick and I've got a concrete block in my stomach?
Exactly. There's just so many different things you can eat that are whole foods or that are way more nutritious. And even saying that, you really should be eating some of the foods you're planning on having in your carb load throughout your training block anyway. These should be snacks that you're having pre-run, or they could be, stuff that you're having out on your run and stuff, so that when it comes to your carb load, it's not so wild for your system. You don't need to get up and eat, 2 bowls of rice for breakfast if that's not what you're doing normally. Just as Matt said, add on that little bit extra than what you currently would have, just so you can fill that bit of a void there. But yeah, I do see a lot of people being like, I'm going to get a burger and I'm going to have, bags of chips. And I'm like, yuck, couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah, just eat what you normally eat. Don't change anything, just to have a little bit more.
Yeah, and I've heard you say before, Matt, and something that I implemented in my last race was, instead of having a really big pasta dinner the night before, having a big breakfast and a big lunch, and then having a light dinner, just so that you don't have as much in your stomach.
For sure.
And just make sure, guys, with that, if you do have a pasta the night before, the day before, sorry, make sure you practice that dinner/lunch, practice that before the race day. So try to get that in with some of your long runs. Just because I have worked out that, a spaghetti bolognese is my pre-marathon lunch. I love a spaghetti bolognese, but I can't do certain types of creamy pastas or, because that just upsets my stomach. So test that out through your training block as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, number 4. I think we're up to 4. Yeah, we are. Yep. Should you stretch before every run?
Yeah, so before we get into it, like there is static stretching, which is, reach down, touch your toes, hold your arm above your head, those sorts of things. And then there's dynamic stretching where it's swinging your legs, glute bridges, A skips, B skips, hip openers, things like that nature. So should you do static stretching before you run? I think this myth is pretty much dead and buried. I don't see a lot of people promoting static stretching anymore. But no static stretching, dynamic stretching, thinking about the muscle movements and the muscles you want to recruit while running. Glutes, quads, hamstrings, calves, bit of ankle mobility, some foot flexion. That's what you want to be doing beforehand.
Yeah, especially before a long run. You don't want to skip that. It's brutal because then you're just going to be sore for a few days afterward. You don't want to get an injury. Like, I know it's exciting and you want to just get out there and do your long run, and sometimes you kind of just have to be like, I got to go or I'll never go. But spending that 10-15 minutes on properly stretching is really going to help you. But yeah, definitely no static. I don't think do you know what? I got to say the only static stretch that I do before I run is like a figure 4 stretch for my glutes.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Which is probably the only real static one I would do.
Yeah, but even then that's not real static because you're still sort of going into that half squat motion. So like you're still sort of putting your glutes through a range of motion. It's not super dynamic, but it's definitely not like completely static.
Yeah, so, but that one's more tailored for myself just because of my hips and stuff. I really work a little bit extra. And, if you guys have other things that you need, if it's your calves or whatever it might be, just do what you need to do. But most importantly, get in those dynamic stretches. They're super important. All right, number 5. If you can run a half, you can run a full.
So.
You say, but you wrote this list of myths. So.
Yeah, I know. There are a bunch of psychos out there who, if they can run a half, they can run a full, right? Like that they can just do that. I want to put a caveat on this is like, can you run a full well? Like, because we can all just grit our teeth and spend 5 kilometers walking and 2 kilometers running, and like we can get through it. You're not going to die, but can you do it well? No. I always say halfway point in the marathon is 28 to 32 kilometers. I'm like, because that last 10 feels like half a marathon. It feels the longest. It takes forever. And just when fatigue starts to rise and you start to get cardiac drift, you just go, oh my God, this is never going to end. And it feels so much harder than the previous 28, 30 kilometers. No. You have the mentality to do it. You are in a position where you can train to do it, but could you just roll out of bed and do it well? Probably not.
No. And I think that's, this is where it comes down to, like, these are the myths that are ruining your race. Like, as Matt said, like, yeah, sure, you could go out and run a full and you be walking some of it, but that's ruining your race. That's not giving you the best shot at having a really great race and being super proud of your effort and stuff. And not to say walking means you shouldn't be proud. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. I just mean if you don't, you haven't given yourself enough time to properly be ready. You haven't done the preparation. And do the prep, then you're going to be disappointed because you could have given it more. But again, I just want to make sure I put it out there. You are allowed to walk if you need to.
Yeah.
Especially if, you have put in the prep and just something happens on race day. That's a different story. So, yeah, but I do get a lot of people message me saying like, oh, hey, I did a half marathon last week, so I'm going to do a full marathon in like 18 weeks time. And I'm just like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah, it comes back to that like dark side of endurance sports that we did, where people just feel like they're on this treadmill like timeline where they've just got to get it done. It's just like, give yourself time. Like, there's a reason all of these athletes are getting injured. It's because they're not giving themselves time to recover and do things. And it's like, people look at me and they're like, oh, Matt, you're running 100 Ks and then you're going to do Gold Coast Marathon 8 weeks afterwards. I'm like, I've also been training consistently for 5 years. Like, and even that turnaround, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And it's like, but just give yourself time. You're not on this treadmill.
be honest with yourself with the horizon and why is it that you need to do it so fast straight after? Because you want to enjoy your first marathon and, it's a really special experience. So give yourself the time to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
I get so like in the feels about first marathons because I just had such a great experience that I'm just like, no, I want everyone to have it. All right, next one. Should you skip your run if the weather is bad? We had this one a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully you guys all know what we're going to say here.
Get your shoes on. Go run.
Get out there. Come on.
What is it, George? You only get wet once.
Yes. Oh, so many people say that to me now. I don't even know where I got it from. I probably heard it online and now it's just stuck and now people just always say it to me and I'm like, yeah, okay. Now I have to run in the rain. Like I have no choice. As we said a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember what episode it was, but it was basically someone was, talking about, do you have to prep for the weather before a race and stuff like that? And I truly think you should. Matt has a slightly different opinion to me, but I think, you should always get out there and do the runs in the rain and the wind and the cold because running on a nice perfect temperature day when you've only chosen your runs to do that in training is completely different to running in the rain during a race. I just think chafing, like your feet is like wet and heavy and stuff like that. And so if you get used to that, you're giving yourself the best possible chance on race day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so just get out there. Don't, suck it up. You get wet once and you have fun. Half my most favorite runs have been in the pouring rain. Like it is just so much fun. Find some friends to run with as well. That's always really good. All right. Should every long run be at race pace in marathon training?
No. Every 1 in 2, 1 in 3, depending on the athlete. Maybe even 1 in 4 if you're a real beginner, like a scratch athlete, like we would call like someone starting from scratch. Yep. Definitely not every week. Maybe in your peak 2 or 3 weeks, you could make the argument like, hey, we'll do race pace. But even then, it might be like 5 kilometers at race pace, then 15, and then 25. Like it wouldn't be the whole run at race pace. It would be sections of it. So definitely not. Like if you ran every single week at race pace for your long run, that'd be fucking brutal. Like I wouldn't want to do that.
No, I wouldn't want to either. Every second at least. Like And also I feel like you're just setting yourself up for not feeling confident because you're just not going to be able to hit your pace.
Talking about that rule of thirds and stuff. Like if you run every single one of your runs at race pace, like 1 in 3 of them is going to feel good. Like that's a fucking shit deal. Like I wouldn't want to go through that.
No, definitely not. Number 8, does walking during a marathon mean you failed? And we just touched on this before, but let's dive in a little deeper.
No, I always wonder, I've noticed this a lot in our athletes of late where I'll bring this back around to marathon, but like if one run doesn't go to plan, they're like, I failed, this is shit, like the whole block's ruined. I'm like, I wonder where this whole black and white thing came where it's like, if I didn't do it exactly the way I said it, it is failure. And I'm just like performance is on a spectrum, right? And you can go out there and absolutely crush it. And that is one end of the spectrum. And then you can DNF, which is another end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's just like walking a little bit in a race, like most of my Ironman athletes and even some of my beginner marathon athletes, I'm like, your strategy is to walk the aid stations. Like that's your time to mentally reset and go, cool, I've had my gel, I've had a cup of electrolytes, I've had some water, deep breath. In Ironman, it's 2Ks. In marathon, it could be 5 or 7Ks depending on the race. But cool, that's all you got to lock in for. Get through that next 35, 40 minutes, or in Ironman, 10, 15 minutes. And then reset, go again. So definitely not. I couldn't think of a single person who walked in a marathon and still finished who would call it a failure. Even the elites, like there are plenty of elite marathon runners and in the Ironman world who have walked that marathon, finished, and been just as proud as if they went out and PB'd. So absolutely not.
100%. I walked during Gold Coast Marathon and I have not once looked back at that and gone, I failed that run. I actually got one of my best times, like best PBs that I've ever had. So I would never say that was a failure. After 33K, I walked pretty much every aid station, and that's what got me through. That stopped me from DNFing. And look, as I said just before, like if you've given all of your training a crack and something happens on race day and you have to walk, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I did. And I still got a 43-minute PB on my marathons. Definitely, you know, even if you need to, go back and listen to episode 61, which is where we talk about, you know, stop overthinking all your bad runs and do this instead. And I think that's a really important episode for that. And I think that'll help with thinking that, you know, walking is failing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just give a real world example too. We just had one of our athletes. Actually, we had two of our athletes. So shout out Margot, who just ran the Paris Marathon.
Woo!
And as on her debut. And we had Carly, who ran Canberra Marathon. Both of those athletes had loose time goals in their mind that they wanted to hit. And I said to them, I was like, what I actually want you to do is focus on sticking to your nutrition, enjoying the run, and sticking within a certain heart rate parameter. And if that means you have to walk, you have to walk. I actually don't know if Margot walked, but I spoke to Carly this morning and she was like, I had to walk a couple of times to keep the heart rate in check. And then she was like, but I'm upset that I was off on my time. And I was like, let's actually look at this. Like, you ran an extremely well planned out tactical race. You stuck to your plan. I think it was 5 hours, 40 something minutes, her marathon. I was like, it is so hard to stick to a plan for 5.5, 6 hours, somewhere in that window. Like, to be that mentally focused, that disciplined, and be like, I am not wavering from the plan. If it means I have to walk, I have to walk. If it means I have to take an extra gel, if it means I have to stop at an aid station, like, I will not deviate from the plan. That is such a huge win. Like, that, she could have taken an extra 3 hours and I would have been like, awesome, you stuck to the plan perfectly. Congratulations, huge win. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. Forget about the time. So I say all that because, like, if she didn't walk when she needed to, her heart rate would have got out of check. She would have probably gone into zone 4 and over into threshold. And then she would have been forced to walk a far larger portion of the marathon than if she just had a tactical 30-second walk or tactical aid station walks. Definitely not. There is no such thing as failure if you're walking a marathon, if you're being smart about it, if you're sticking to your plan, sticking to your race and doing what you need to do to run your race to the best of your ability.
Yeah, and was that Carly's first marathon? I can't remember.
No, she's run one before.
She's
At
run
least
one
one
before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But she PB'd by 8 minutes.
And see, like, that's a prime example. And my point is with that is, like, she's learnt from past marathons, and she has learnt that if you actually, as you said, tactically make a walking break to help herself, like, she sat and went, my heart rate's too high, I need to bring that down. Best way to do that is do some walking, and that's going to help me. And that helped her finish the race and still get a PB, which I think is smart decisions. And so if walking is the smart decision you have to make, just like I had to do for Gold Coast as well, and now we learn from every race, I think power to you. You know, you've put in the work and that's what counts.
Yeah, and just for context, if she hadn't have walked when she needed to, 8 minutes isn't a lot of time when you're walking, right? Like, if you have to walk an extra 1 kilometer, like, most people don't walk sub 8 minutes per kilometer, right? So all of a sudden, like, that's blown out. So if she had been like, no, I'm gritting my teeth, don't care about my heart rate, blown up, and she had to walk for an extra kilometer over the course of a marathon, that PB is gone. So she was tactical, she stuck to the plan, she got the result, and walking was a part of that. So definitely not failure.
Love that. All right, number 9. Does more kilometers always mean a faster marathon?
No, definitely not. This is something that I think definitely plagues probably the more intermediate to advanced athlete, where they think I've just got to be running all the time. Probably ties in with the running every day. I am, at least one of the tactics that we use is quality over quantity. So I would rather have an athlete run, let's say, 2 hours on a Wednesday and an hour and a half on a Friday versus running 40 minutes or an hour every single day, and making sure that Wednesday and Friday session, we had a really good warm up, a really quality block in the middle where we're targeting a very, very specific feature or stimulus that we're trying to achieve, whether that's threshold, VO2, tempo, and cooling down, and then we're out, and then we've got 24 plus hours to recover. Like, that is a far, far better tactic for me, and at least what we've seen way better results with the Performance Project, with over 200 athletes we've coached in total now, that gets results versus just volume. I'd say the volume play really only comes into consideration when that athlete is maybe used to running 100 plus kilometers per week, and that's like not even in a race block. That's just like their normal routine.
Yeah.
So I would say volume is probably the enemy for most athletes, especially athletes who listen to this podcast. You want quality over quantity.
Yeah. And, our athletes that listen are beginner, intermediate. We do have some more advanced runners that listen. Sure. But yeah, I agree with Matt completely there. So I don't have anything else to add.
And just for the advanced runners who do listen to that, if you are in the camp of I run every single day, I do a shitload of volume, and that's just like, and maybe running is just part of your daily routine, I think you would still see a huge amount of success just by changing the stimulus. So removing some of that volume and increasing the specificity, maybe increasing the duration of some of your sessions. Like, I think there would be a lot of upside to that as well. So there's kind of there's the old theory that what's the best training program? The one that you're not doing. Yeah. So if you've been in the same sort of routine for a long period of time, changing it up to something a little bit different is normally a good thing, and sometimes less can be more.
And that goes back to your favorite saying, which is stress and stimuli makes the muscle grow. And if you're just doing the same old thing, nothing's going to change. So if you want to improve your pace.
Well, I heard Georgia at the start of this podcast said, please don't ask me any strategic questions anymore. And then she just starts rattling them off.
No, don't quiz me on the spot, Matt. I said to Matt, guys, I was like, can you please I just can't today. My head, I just can't. I had a Barney of a week last week. And so I was like, please, I can't do the quiz questions because I was having all these nightmares, guys. It's just so lame. I was having all these nightmares that all of our listeners started to like message in to be like, look, we actually just don't think Georgia knows enough anymore and we don't want to listen to her on the podcast. And people being like, how did this chick get on the podcast? She's got no fucking idea.
We'll just get an AI host to ask me questions.
And look, I'd like to think I have a bit of knowledge. I just don't have the same brain as Matt. I'm very...
You bring such a different skill set. Like, when people talk about emotions and like, this makes me feel bad, I'm like, I don't even understand the question. And Georgia's like, oh, I can do this. But when someone's like, talk to me about my LT2 marker on why it's at 74% instead of 76%, I'm like, you speak in my language. I get it.
Yeah, sometimes when you guys send in your, questions and stuff, and this happened the other day, someone sent me a question and I was like, I'm really sorry. Can you rephrase that? Because I didn't even know how to ask this on the podcast. So, as Matt said, we both bring different things, chalk and cheese, and that's hopefully why you guys love us and not why you're going to kick me off the podcast. All right, we have the last myth here that could be potentially ruining your marathon. Should you not run the day before a race because, maybe you feel like that your legs don't feel like they're working, or that you should completely rest those legs before the marathon? Matt, what are your thoughts?
Always, always, always run the day before a race. Always.
It might feel like shit, but it's worth it.
10 to 20 minutes. Probably anywhere from 5 to 10 strides within that. So 30 seconds to 1 minute at race pace, maybe slightly above, equal quantity rest, or you can go to double rest. And that's all you need. We're just continuing that neuromuscular connection, make sure the central nervous system is primed, ready to go. If you're sort of resting, I would say 2 days before a race, probably don't need to run. But if you're sort of resting 48 to 72 hours before, you'll spend the first 2 to 5Ks like your body would be like a car with a flat battery. It'd be like, like it just can't get into gear, and then it'll go. But we want that go from the warm ups. always run the day before a race, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. And chances are when you're in that stride session, you'll feel the click. You'll feel it go, oh, there it is. I feel good. That's when to call it. If you get that feeling 12 minutes in, cool down, done. Don't push the time. You don't need it. If you need it up until the 19th, 20th minute, ride it all the way out.
Yeah, those strides are super important. And we did this, just before Sydney Marathon, we had a shakeout run. And some people were like, oh, why'd you do it right the day before the marathon? And we're like, well, coach said we had to. So, yeah, we'll do that again this year for Sydney Marathon, guys. We'll do another Beyond the Finish Line shakeout run. You guys loved it last year, so we will do that again this year. Just because I know there's lots of marathons around, but Sydney is just a bit easier for everyone and for Matt and I to be able to get to. And I'll have a little baby, so I can come, but don't know how good. I can just be on the megaphone.
The megaphone.
Strides, guys, go. All right, cool. Well, that's our 10 myths. There are, I'm sure there are a couple other myths around, but these were the ones that we thought
the biggest ones.
The biggest ones, yeah. For sure.
If you guys have your own and you're like, I've heard this, don't know if it's true or not, write them in. We will put them in as listener questions for this mini series.
Good idea. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, speaking of listener questions, I have 2 questions here from our listeners. These actually came into my inbox this week, and I thought they were really good ones to, people were asking me, but I thought they were really great for the podcast, so I've made them wait. So Meg has said, hey, Georgia, I've been listening to the podcast every day. I'm running my first marathon this year in Sydney, and I'm starting a 20-week plan next week. I've got 4 young kids and I run a business, so time is tight. But I'm keen. Am I in denial thinking that 2 runs a week is enough to get me through my first marathon block? If not, what's the minimum number of runs you'd recommend to finish strong without burning out?
Yeah, 2 hours, 2 hours. 2 runs, nowhere near enough. It's one of those things, right, where we sort of said it before, it's like, could you go through and do it? Sure. But it's like, are you setting yourself up to succeed? No. And these are one of those conversations I have, like the hard truth conversations I have with athletes, where sometimes it's not what I want to hear, but they need to hear it. If you're running twice a week, your running volume will increase so dramatically, especially over 20 weeks. Like, you're going to go from probably running 10 kilometers a week to, I'm just trying to think of the math. Like, even if you're doing a 36 and a 10 or a 15, like 50 kilometers over 2 runs, like you're just not going to get it. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
No. I want to try and think of a way. I'm thinking on the spot because Georgia didn't tell me about this one before, which she never actually normally does. But I'm just trying to think. I don't think there is a way that you could do it and run it really well. Like, could you get fit enough just to get through it with a whole bunch of walking and like more just mental willpower and grit versus doing it like how we would describe like racing a marathon or running a marathon? Sure. But I don't think that would be the experience you wanted. So like, I would really, it's tough. 4 kids, business owner, like then putting marathon prep on top of that, really tough. I would just, it might be one of those things that you need to reprioritize certain 3 runs you could do it. And so I'm thinking about this in real time. 3 runs you could do it. 1 run, 30 to 40 minutes, just that easy, like our equivalent of Never Miss a Monday. 1 sort of just speedy type session up to an hour, somewhere midweek, and then getting in that long run. But that long run, it's going to be so crucial for you. You really want to be running high 20s from 10 or 12 weeks out, like almost halfway through your prep, at least. And other than that, like, I feel like you just set yourself up for failure. And even doing that, I'd be nervous about injury if you're not a conditioned athlete. So yeah, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and this is why I thought I'd bring it to the podcast, because I'm just reading the messages from her now, just on the mic, just so I can not miss anything. Some key, like, I had to paraphrase that because it was quite a long message that I got from Meg. But yeah, she said, first up, it's her first marathon, and I have always said, like, you want to enjoy your first marathon because you never get it back. Her second part of that was actually that she had a time goal and she was originally thinking sub 4. And I just was like, whoa, I need to take this to Matt, because I wholeheartedly, and I've never strayed from this, I've always said this, your first marathon should never have a hard and fast time goal on it. I really, really, really think you need to just try and, finish the marathon. And I just was like, I would be so worried about injury with only 2 runs a week. I understand it's hard with
any sort of time
kids.
goal, just forget it. Like,
yeah,
you just can't get the conditioning in your legs. Can't be done, but like, especially for a beginner run, like a first time marathon runner on debut, like just you're setting yourself up for not even just like I just missed it, just like a catastrophic fail. And I say that with all the support I could possibly give you, but that it's just like, it's almost delusional thinking.
Yeah. And so for a little bit of context, she said, she's done 7 half marathons and like races, and they've all been sub 2 hour. Her zone 2 is closer to a 6 minutes. So, the paces and stuff are there. I just think it's just, as we spoke about before with the myths, is like, just because you've done a half, I just don't want you to be shocked with how much work there is actually in that marathon, and especially running a marathon at the same pace as a half marathon, because the timings are so different and it's a whole different ball game. But Meg, look, incredible. You have 4 children and a business and you still want to do a marathon. And I absolutely love that. I'm just trying to think of ways that you could get around getting in some more runs, and maybe that is getting a treadmill for home so that your kids can still be with you and you can still do some runs.
Yeah, even some form of cross training, whether that's pool or at the gym on the bike, things like that. Like, get some more aerobic fitness in. The big problem is especially when we talk about a time goal, it's the muscular conditioning. It's the ability to be able to generate force over 4 hours. Like, that takes so much, and it takes so long to build that muscle up. It's not necessarily a question of aerobic fitness. It is a question of muscular durability and conditioning. And I just don't see a world where like both of your runs would have to be hard, and like that's just like, you're just going to burn out and get injured. Like, that's if you were just wanted to go and do it and you were happy doing a bunch of walking and just happy sort of going through the process, different conversation, still wouldn't recommend it. But I think you're in a tough situation.
Yeah. And I get it. Sydney Marathon, it was Sydney, wasn't it? I'm sure. Yeah. I get it. Like, world major, it's a huge race, and you've probably, got this place and you're kind of like, oh shit, how am I going to make this work? But yeah, just as I said to Meg, love it. Good on you. But just try and, if you can, you really need to get some more runs in too, is just not enough. Anyway, next question. I hope that's helped, Meg. Obviously we're never here to turn anyone off, but we also want to be honest and tell you the truth with this sort of stuff, so you don't get hurt.
I love how uncomfortable it makes Georgia. I'm just like, no.
I'm like, oh, go mama. I don't want to crush your dreams, but also please don't hurt yourself.
Yeah. Trying to save mama's calves.
Yeah, literally. All right. Courtney has said, hey, Georgia, love the podcast. Just really quickly, guys, I've had to really paraphrase this because it was quite long and a bit confusing. I play AFL, and my weekly load is 2 trainings that are around 5Ks each, plus a Saturday game, which can be anywhere up to 8Ks. I'm also training for a 50-kilometre race that's 2 days, so 2 50-kilometre trail events in October. In the past, I've gotten injured during footy season from too much load when adding extra running in. My plan is to add an easy trail run on a Sunday, Monday, building up from 8K to 24 and then holding it there until footy finishes. I do 3 gym sessions, a swim, and an easy long ride during the weeks because she does triathlons. Does this sound like a smart way to manage my load? And should I shift back into proper long runs once footy has finished? I'm really confused on what to do, but I feel like with all of the runs and stuff like that, not runs, sorry, with the swim and the bike rides, that is enough. Matt, can you gather what is happening in that question? So she does 3 footy sessions a week, pretty much, that involve running. And then she's going to do 1 long run on a Sunday. that will be more trail specific. And then she also does obviously cross training during the week.
Yeah. And
is that enough?
Are her two 50K races, they back-to-back days or are they separated?
Yes, back-to-back.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I know, this is why I was super confused with this too. And I was like, but, you know, like I know training for a big goal and playing footy is doable because Nick has done it in the past.
Yeah. When does AFL season finish? When does Nick finish AFL?
Usually late September it finishes.
And she wants to run in October. Not enough time.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah. Is like your current training volume enough aerobically? Yes, it is. Cycling, AFL is a good combination of aerobic and anaerobic fitness. And I actually know this space quite well because I coached Nick to 326 during AFL season. So like we did a lot of work on this. Nick's sessions were closer to 10Ks in training, and same with his race, but obviously that depends on position and whatnot, and things like that. So if you think they're about 5Ks, I would encourage you to probably make those double run days with a very, very relaxed 5K, 30 minutes, something like that in the morning of training. And then like, I'm assuming training in the afternoon. That afternoon session is that bit more speed work, doing some anaerobic stuff, very stop-start, almost fartlek style. I would encourage that. The long run gets tricky, right? Like, you want to be banking. You're essentially going to run 100 kilometers over the course of basically 24 to 36 hours. I would really be wanting to doing back-to-back long runs, building up to probably between 36 and 40 kilometers, or even maybe doing like a 45 and a 20 or a 40 and a 25, something like that. And I'd want a good 4 to 6 weeks of that leading in an absorption week, 2-week taper. So probably somewhere in July, I'd be wanting that double run weekend to really ramp up. If you suffer from injuries because running load increases, you really need to evaluate how quickly volume is ramping up. And if volume isn't ramping up too quickly at the intensity at which you're running, so make sure your training zones are correctly calibrated. And then the next part of that is you need to make sure that you keep your strength work in. And if it's still an issue, doing back-to-back ultra marathons might not be the smartest decision.
Yeah,
fair. I'm thinking through this in real time. This is how like you're hearing me how I solve problems for our athletes at the Performance Project. When you sign up, I can't remember who I spoke to this about the other day. Sometime, and I'm not saying. So, what was this athlete's name?
Courtney.
I'm not saying Courtney. This is your thought process. But so many athletes sign up for events because it looks cool on paper, and then when they get into the training, they're like, "I did not realize it was this." They didn't realize like how much it was or how hard it was. Doing back-to-back ultra marathons, and I don't know the elevation, but like rough as guts, right? Like I did that 42. I did a normal marathon on the trails the other week, and no chance I was doing one the next day. And I'm a relatively conditioned ultra athlete.
Yeah.
At least ultra distance athlete. So there also could just be the factor that it's not for you yet. Like we need to build up to it. But that would be my big piece of advice, is getting those back-to-back long runs in a good 8 to 9 weeks beforehand, and then getting sort of 4 to 6 weeks of quality double runs, and then having that absorption and taper period, especially if you're still doing AFL that late into your prep. Central nervous system is going to be through the roof. So doing that and making sure that your long runs are super, super aerobic, like really, really easy, like heaps of walking, heaps of hiking, especially if you're on the trails, just to give your body a chance to absorb the fatigue through the week, and like you're not hopefully going to reduce that injury risk.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, but again, this is stuff that everyday athletes are dealing with. They're doing stuff they love. And so, yeah, it's super interesting to see how Matt would, coach that and what you'd do. So hopefully, Courtney, that has answered your question. I've read over the question like 5 times to double check that I got everything right. So yeah, fingers crossed and good luck, and let us know how you go. But that's everything for today. Anything you want to add, Matt?
No, I think I've spoken enough.
I don't think I've spoken enough. So this has been episode 63 of Beyond the Finish Line. This is our 4-part mini series on marathons. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you head over to Instagram and follow us at Beyond the Finish Line _. Head over to wherever you listen to your podcast and make sure you like, subscribe, download, leave us a review and share it with your friends. And if you'd like to be coached by Coach Matt, well, maybe not at the moment, he's quite busy, or Coach Anthony, make sure you head over to theperformanceproject.com.au. We would love to be able to help you out. You can train with us. You can be part of our amazing community of athletes. That is over 100 people now, growing strong. We love to see it. So thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey, Root.
Bye.